Let's get it started. So up on the screen right now, you see the Sales Hacker Pro membership that we just launched. If you're an SDR or an AE or manage them or have them, definitely check that out. We're going to be doing some, office hours, some coaching, and some stuff in there. So it's really, really great resource. Check that out. But without any further delay, let's get into the fundamentals of activity-based sales. And we got our guest, Timo Rein, CEO of Pipedrive, in here. And we're going to be talking about kind of the activities to track and measure, and really it's tactical and actionable information on walking through the sales process in a really well thought out manner. So Timo, thanks for joining us. I'm going to let you take it away, and I will have some questions for you. Oh, and definitely ask questions via Twitter at #SHWebinar. And in the GoToWebinar chat feature, ask us questions. The recording will be posted within 48 hours on saleshacker.com. So, Timo, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Max. Again, it's an honor to be invited once more, and hello to everybody. Good morning or good evening.
So, cool, yeah. So what are we talking about today? Yeah.
Yeah. So, without further ado, as you said, the title today is the ultimate guide, or if you will, to activity-based selling, and we'll be talking about what it is and why this is a good thing, and how you can set yourself up for really good results doing these sort of things. So I'll be happy to give you a little bit of information about my background as well. But other than this, we're good. And as we discussed with Max, we'll have a Q&A set for later on, and in case somebody has really burning questions, I'm sure Max will sort of interfere and ask a few things. So let's see how it goes. All right. So personally, me, a little bit of history. I do live in Redwood City, California right now as a husband and a father. I grew up in Soviet Union though, so I went from Pioneer to Boy Scout, and went to study in university, majored in psychology. After that, worked a little bit as a recruiter, but went to build up a sales consulting business during 10 or so years with two other guys as partners. And then in 2010, founded a company called Pipedrive, where we build a sales pipeline and action management tool, so that people doing sales could be really consistent every day and enjoy constantly good results. So we've been doing quite well. We have more than 30,000 customers around the world in more than 150 countries. So that's a quick background, and an interesting fact here is that I've also done door-to-door sales at one point in my life, which was a very weird experience, very useful one. But that brought me to Silicon Valley, where I'm residing right now, without me knowing at the time that I was in Silicon Valley, because I just knew about the streets where I was doing my work. So very interesting to live very close to that area where I worked about 16 years ago. As far as me mentioning, it's great to be back. Just wanted to give everybody a chance to go back and also search for our previous topic, which was how to focus better and close better because of that. So if you go to saleshacker.com and you didn't listen to our previous chat, then you can search for a keyword focus. I tried it in the library, and they can find it. And we talked about why and how to focus, and what you need to do to get the sales done every day. But today we will have a different topic, and a couple of things that I want to take you in. Well, first of all, I have to admit one thing. I haven't done sales myself. Having seen other people doing it, it is a tough job, without a doubt. It's been studied. It's been depression. It's very depression prone, and at the same time, if you are in sales, then you need to get a commission. You need to get a salary, so you need to sell. I've been personally through some good times and some really bad times. Hit the rock bottom where I feel that I want to cry, and I have cried, during taking showers. As a brave man, don't really show emotions in public. But the question that I've always had is that what if you could sort of take that step back, knowing that you need to get the results, but what if you could be in control? And what if you could have the good results coming almost inevitably? And what if you could be really confident about your success even when you're not successful? And what if you could, you know, perform really well when it matters, which is every day? And the best answer I have to this question is that you can. And that's what you need to do, is that you need to figure out how to build a battle plan in sales around your actions, which is around the step-by-step process to closing your deals. And the whole point is, how can I build it so that I resist the temptation to shift my focus to results where it sort of wants to go all the time? Results like, will they buy? Will they buy? Will they buy? Will they come through? And focus on actions like, will I make these 5 prospecting calls that I agreed I would do today? Will I make these 5 calls? Will I make these 5 calls? And then you step on it, and then you execute your action plan. And other than this, you know, change in thinking and planning and maybe breathing, it's sales as we all know it. It's usual building blocks. It's calls, emails, proposals, meetings, demos, negotiations, so whatever you need to do to get a deal done. So the question is, why this activity-based selling then? And I'm giving you 3 reasons. Well, like I said before, sales is probably one of the top depression-prone jobs that I know, that I've personally done at least. There's constant uncertainty. There's rejection, there's worry, your time away from home. But I've seen that you've got to feel really good to do well. And in other jobs, not all of them, but some of them, if you do everything right, you will get a good results. But in sales, no. In sales, you will fail more than you will succeed. Conversion to you know, winning is probably less than 30% for most people, less than 10 for a lot. Result is out of control. And in activity-based selling, the point is that you take a stand and you control your own schedule, basically. And that's how you also put yourself in control. And I'll talk about more later, like how you do it. But the first thing that you want to feel in control rather than not knowing how you're going to get the results. The second reason is that there's a lot of anxiety that I also, you know, shared. But you need to know why you are doing this. And if results are in focus, then you probably experience something which I'm defining as anxiety-based selling. And customers and prospects, they really sense your anxiety. We always have this sort of image. Some people talk about it like, I could see the dollar signs in their eyes. And you're less of a salesperson because of it. There's less trust, and people pick that up and they just, you know, don't buy. But you need confidence, and it starts with a sense of achievement, you know, that I'm able to get the results, and it's possible to repeat it consistently. And you know the difference probably, because, you know, you remember the feelings that you've had when you just made a big sale, and, you know, how you felt and how you walked after this. I mean, everything feels very light. Now, if you have all that confidence, like constantly, more or less similar, I mean, imagine what that would do to your ability to influence. So you need that confidence before that sort of success, which is clear that you close the deal, and no matter what the vibe is for the day. And the third reason, you know, why activity-based selling has worked, for example, for me a lot, and I think it would work for everybody, it's probably the best use of your time as a salesperson. It sort of focuses you on the things you can control, but also makes you work smarter, because you need to figure out what works for you. And I've seen that people can be strong in very different ways, and some people are very strong because they are fastest to yes or no. Some people are able to sell the largest deals, and then some people are they just lose less than others. So there's a way that everybody's strong, and if you're systematically taking action, it kind of forces you to get better. If you add analysis to it, you can improve even more. So now the question is, how do you build that up so that you could be closing more deals? And we have 8 steps here that I wanted to share with you, and we can discuss that later on in Q&A or even as we go through it. So the first sort of premise is that everything needs to be done from a proactive mode, not reactive mode. So you need to think of, how can I plan around not answering calls and emails, but around simple, concrete steps you can take even when nothing is coming your way. So steps you can and should take every day. And it starts off with, I told that it's it's not results-based selling, it's action-based selling, but you still need to understand your goal. In order to focus on actions, you need to have a goal and let go in a way. So whatever your goal is, but it has to be clear. Some people it's the revenue, some people it's a number of products, but it has to be something you can measure and something that you know that if you do that, then you will get the commissions that you want. And second, you need to know that this goal is possible for you. It's always good to have a very tough goal ahead of you, but it's also important that you can see that you can achieve this bit by bit with dedication and with hard work. So that's the step one. You really need to spend a little bit of time of understanding what it is that you want to get to. The second one, very important as well, I just want to stress that here, is that your reasons. Like, why is it that you want this? Rational and emotional. First of all, obviously everybody has bills to pay. There's a lot of have to in what we do. So money is there. But the emotional side is also that we want to be good. We want to be doing something good and valuable. And for some people like me, you don't want to be the last one in, the worst one, whatever you call it. So the different ways to emotionally feel engaged. But if money is your ultimate why, then obviously it's important to think what you will do with it. Maybe there's a loan you need to and want to pay back. Maybe you want to provide for your immediate family and more. Maybe there's a certain lifestyle. And the reason I'm putting this up here is that you really need to know your why before you build this process up, is that when things get tough, and things will get tough because it's sales, this is what gets you through. Not really the things that people say or your sales managers say, or what you look at the computer screen. It's really why you're in this. So take a little bit of time to understand that and then get that clear. Third step is, take a look at when you've been good, when you close a deal, what it is that you do. What did you do exactly, step by step? How did you get to this? I just, they called in, or I reached out, and then we did a few things, and then, wow, we have the deal, and then they bought. So get to the point where you understand, okay, that's my process probably, and then believe that this can be repeated even if you haven't had a lot of chance yet to prove that, but it will. So that's how you move away from sort of winging it in sales, which can also be done, but really towards a process that you can repeat and be successful with. And also, it's important to pay attention when you lose. What did you do? Maybe there was something that you certainly knew that, oh, I just missed that, and I didn't do that, or I did a poor job of something. Where did it go wrong? It also shares a little bit of light into this. So the point of this is map your road to a successful deal and write it down, in any way you want to, but make sure that from A to B there are certain steps that you need to take. You can design the whole wheel, but probably someone's around who's better, more experienced, has a different approach. So the key is to learn at the same time. You can go into internet, you can go into YouTube, you can Sales Hacker is there, right? So there's so many ways that you can learn how to talk to and how to get to this ideal customer profile of yours, how to email customers when you prospect, how to ask for a meeting, and how to interview people so you really get to their needs, and how to negotiate when you get further along, and how to also not waste time. So all these resources that you could tap into could be really useful. You don't have to reach out even outside of your company when you know that someone's doing a really good job. You can just go and ask. And a second point here is just try it, but don't assume that it works for you, because people are successful differently, and different methods and different ways of being good salespeople just are evident. I know, for example, people who are really good at sales, and you can tell it from the outside because they seem to be very extroverted, And I've seen people who are extremely introverted. You think that how can they even talk to people, but they are very good at what they do, and slowly but surely they get they get the good rapport, and they get to good results. And the third one is that if something works for you already, just don't give up on this because you want to try something, from somebody else. I mean, obviously you can try, but it's important to know what works and keep that going. So a very important point here when you set this process up for yourself is to do a bit of math. There are some key actions that you always take when you get to a sales. And you can calculate the metrics. And I want to give you the sort of one method which has always helped me personally. What do you need to do to get one deal done is the question that can be asked. And then work backward. So you go to this. So what do I need to do to get one deal done, and try to understand, how many, starting simple things like how many proposals you need to write in order to get one deal done. And it could be, in your case, that you see, or you feel, you don't see, but you feel that's probably around 3 proposals, and then one of them actually will be a yes, and 2 of them will be no. Maybe the number is different, but just for this example here. So you get the number, okay, I need to get 3 proposals to get one deal done. And then the question further is, to get to these 3 proposals, obviously you need to have conversations going, and how many qualified prospects you really need to reach out to in order to get these 3 proposals. And maybe the answer is, you feel it or you see it, that's 1 out of 5. And then you do a bit of math, 1 out of 5, that means that I need to, reach out to about 15 prospects to get 3 proposals and to get 1 deal done. And that's how you can use some of the guesswork. You can use real math because you know the numbers. You can always validate these by working and checking the results. But that's your almost like a guarantee that you will get a good results if you only are able to put in that sort of work. And numbers can be wrong, but you can always adjust them as you know what's real. And once you have that, it's really important that you now want something, not just that okay, that's my reality, but now this is what I want. And let's say that you don't just want 1 deal done per month. Obviously you want more, but in your business everything can be very different. So in your business, let's assume that you want 5 deals done, and when you want 5 deals done, the question is, what do you need to do every day and every week in order to to get that done? And again, you can follow the same math. I'm going back to this, is if 1 deal is not enough but you need 5, then you multiply this qualified prospect numbers also by 5. You get 75 prospects per month, and that's about 4. You divided that by 4, it's 18 per week or 4 per day, however we want to look at it. But color becomes part of your day work now, and the same way you can do how many proposals, like you have 3 proposals for 1 deal, but if you wanted 5, then it's 5 times 3, it's 15 proposals per month, or around 4 per week. And that's how you have your own targets that you can hit, and you can always sort of, you make sales, I don't know if fun is the right word, but you make it look like a bit of sports, or a little bit of event that is actually quite fun. And obviously, you can adjust when you get off track. Morning and evening, you can see that you did less in the morning. You can do more in the evening. Maybe you start slowly during the week. You can always pick up the pace later on during the week. I realized that people are very different in where they feel that they have the sweet spot, or where they're really on the roll. But for example, in my case, I was never able to put in the right numbers in terms of prospecting calls, for example, in the morning hours. I kind of felt that I needed to get these sort of meetings in and talk to people more, and then during 4 p.m., from 4 to 6, I was able to make the most amount of my calls, most number of calls, for some reason, because I just felt much better there. But I've seen people who do that in the morning because that's how they feel very good at. So figure that out for yourself. And then it's important that you look at your metrics as you drive, and there are tools that make it easier to keep track, so you can use some. It's important to understand when you've done good. I'm personally very bad at this, but celebrating and patting yourself on the back because nobody else probably will for these sort of metrics and hitting them is a very good thing. And then changing goals if you need them to change, because you might have a low goal, you might have a too high of a goal, or you can adjust by being better at keeping to your goals, and just take a look back and then make sure you have time also for that to understand what's really going on as you go through the battles. And then the last point here, but not the least, is I think somebody told me once that the only difference when you get better in something is that you start asking new questions, the questions that you didn't ask before, and they start to feel important now, and you really feel that you need to get these answers. So so that's what evolving is all about, that we ask questions like maybe like how to add more deals without putting more hours in, right? How can I do that? And the reason is because you look at the metrics, you understand that you're not really putting in a lot of deals to get deals closed, more deals closed at the other end. And then you may be thinking, okay, I've heard that referrals could really help here. How can I ask referrals? And then you go on and on. Or you might have a question like how to move from calls to meetings when I call and then try to ask for a meeting and not lose so many prospects to not interested. And maybe there's a colleague who does a really good job of that, and you can learn from them and evolve that way. But asking new questions and asking more from yourself, not always more hours, but more smart work, whatever you want to call it, is a really good way of setting this process up and getting to a very successful career overall. So all in all, like I said before, sales is tough. But you can be in control, you can be confident, and you could perform really well. If you focus on actions over the results, which you always need to have in front of your eyes anyway, but just focusing on what you need to do, what's under your control, is what counts here. And I just wanted to share also a personal example here of mine, which I think is somewhat relevant. My sort of identity before entering the world of sales was that I'm not a good salesperson because nobody will buy from me because I can't talk, I can't really influence. I did just like, it's not me. It's just everything that I've heard about and I heard about salespeople, that was just not me. And then realizing that you can set a process up and you can look at this world of sales very professionally. A little bit of science, a little bit of math, a little bit of art, if you will, also, and then the whole learning process. But you can then realize quite quickly, even as I did, that people buy, and you can be actually very good, and you start learning more what it is that works and what doesn't. But I've always felt like the best place to be at is being confident when there's actually no reason to be confident because there's not a lot of sales coming in, but you have your own world going where you feel that you're hitting your metrics and you're getting to the good results. So feeling inevitably getting to the results is my preferred feeling in sales. And that's the sort of how you set yourself up for doing action-based sales. And I hope that I was able to help you there. So happy to take questions from you, Max, or anybody else.
Definitely. Yeah, so I want to know more about how you set up your goals. So, what do you do the first time you're setting up a goal? You were talking about adjusting it, but like, how do you do that from scratch?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it depends a little bit on where you are, what's your immediate surrounding. If you're in a company, that means that there's some prior knowledge. There's some kind of understanding, who's been selling this product or service. So what I would do in that case, I would just look at the best guys and what are their records. And also you could look at some of the not so good people's records just to see what's the difference. But you could look at these numbers, and if you don't get anything else, at least what you normally get is what what's the amount of sales that they've been able to produce, and what's the revenue they've been able to hit. And it's important to understand whether there's a fluctuation. Maybe the best results are just very far away from their average results, but that's one way of doing it. And the second one, which is when you don't have any sort of reference points, is just it's weird, but in human life I've seen that it starts from what you desire. I've seen so many people who start off and they don't know really how to set my goals. It's important to just want something and set that up there, and then the point is that you will learn when you start working towards this anyway. So it kind of doesn't matter whether you think that I'm going to sell like 10 products or 100 products. You will learn quite quickly where you're kind of able to do this. But I don't think there's anything wrong in sort of guessing the end result when you don't have any other reference. I mean, it would be not very wise to just spend your time analyzing and searching the world what could be your results or goals. And again, I may not have answered exactly what you were asking, but ask more, because I was just referring to where do you get the actual goals.
And it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world. That's why we have the Sales Hacker community on LinkedIn, but there's a lot of communities out there that allow you to speak to people who've done this before, and that's usually the best way to figure it out, is to see what other companies have done, find companies that are as close to your model as possible. So whether it's SMB, mid-market enterprise, or it's the way that your organization is set up, but things that are close to the way you're doing things, and kind of model it after them. So you get to talk to those other those people who figured it out in the past and see how they've done it. That's a good way to get it started. And I know we spoke before. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and the thin red line that I just remembered is I've always seen that when you look at the goals, the more professional guys and people doing this work, they always have some kind of an action goal in addition to just results goals. So it's sometimes you just don't get that information, but if you ask, and then if there's a chance to talk to other people about this, make sure you also ask, but what sort of action goals you've had that have really made a difference, because I've seen that the people who came away with really good results, they had something going on besides just the revenue goal at the end of the quarter or month.
Can you talk more about tapping action resources? Is there like an actual example that you can pull up or something like that? Or is it too product related?
Oh, in resources of any sort. I mean, anything that you can find. Larger companies, they have produced their own resources for people to sort of read, and at the same time, I'm referring to everything which is around for everybody. Really good books, all the different resources that, for example, sites like yours, put up there so that you can.
What resources have you used, or is your team using that you've seen?
I think the same. I mean, a lot of them just following also what you have done and created, and then sometimes you get a better sense. I don't want to even kind of like just tell you that, hey, here's one guy who's very, very good. Like, here's Jeffrey Gittimer, and he's very good in sales, and you should just follow. And probably everything will help you. I think a lot of things will help, but I think it would make sense to just search this world a little and understand which people share the type of resources that ring a bell for you. I've seen so many good YouTube videos even from people that I don't know about, because they don't really sort of share or publish otherwise. But you can see that they've created videos of how to answer objections, how to get through the gatekeepers, how to build up your price, and how to interview people. And they're very short videos, but they're very, very insightful. You get another technique you can try and stuff like that. So just being curious, I think it's a good way forward. And then obviously there's books where there's more knowledge accumulated over time. You can reach out to authors who've done the sales, and then put a few things under or in between the covers.
Okay. And do you have any concrete examples of calculating your action metrics, or set weekly, daily action metrics? So I'm just going through 5 and 6 here, and I'm wondering if we can get some examples or templates or something that our viewers can see more, concrete examples really of like how they can implement it at their own companies and their own processes.
Yeah, we've spoken about it also in our own blog that we keep. So this is just a little bit of that. So if you want to sort of dive in a bit more, there's quite a bit of examples of how you could schedule a day and your week based on this sort of math. So that's one way of doing it. But overall, it's just, I think the biggest difference is that if you're in sales, then you go through a week and you probably do the things that you need to be doing. The question is, do you have your focus really on these, and do you have your target metrics so that you clearly focus on completing a certain amount of them, and setting your week up in a way that it's there because you wanted it like that, not that it's there because there are emails and there are people who want things from you and everything gets just gets to be driven by everybody else. I think this is a big mistake. So I don't know if I can sort of paint the template here, but my sort of own way of organizing the week, doing sales was always that I know that I have a few key actions: prospecting calls, to get the meetings with people in the business that I was in. I know that I have to make sure that I have a really good amount of these interviews, where I just discover these needs and have these meetings actually. And then I need to have these key moments where I come up and write up the proposals for customers so that we can negotiate whether they want to do a deal with us. And just making sure that they're laid out during the week, even though before the week starts, that there are sort of almost like placeholders for them. I used to do that all the time, so that you will have, let's say, 3 different proposals to write, even if I didn't have them yet, but I just had the time dedicated in a week ahead for this, so that when something came up, I was able to commit to this. And also making sure that when you have 5 or 10 prospecting calls that you need to make, then you actually take the time during the week, and there's a dedicated slot there, and you do it. And I think that's what quite often happens when you don't do it, that things will be, your week will be filled with something else that feels important, and it might be, but it might also not be all the time. And you might be driven a lot more by your anxieties and somebody else's agendas, and maybe too much the results and the pressure of that, and you sort of forget to focus on the basics that you need to be putting in. I don't know if that was helpful at all, but that's the sort of the way to think about it, and to come up with a good template for a week.
Yeah, I want to get a little more into your business. So you guys are premium SMB focused, kind of like the HubSpot model, would you say?
Yeah, it's a certain business which is very different as far as selling, getting customers goes to what we previously run in the sales and consulting business world. Our model is very sort of low touch and no touch in terms of sales. A lot of that is product first marketing, and just making sure that the inbound interest then we treat in a very good way, and people can set up their trials and get started.
Yeah. So to set that up really, to understand your business a little bit, how are you guys, prospecting and qualifying leads if you're doing this kind of like premium model? How is your sales team broken up? Is it specialized SDRs and AEs? What does that process look like for you guys?
Well, like I said, currently we don't really do any outbound work, but we just figure out the different ways of how we can work better with our slightly larger customers, or customers with more premium needs, as you said, or premium product offering. And for us right now, it's a lot of experimenting with just people reaching out to based on the usage data and pasting inbound requests. Usage data like whether people have been adding more users, and they probably have different questions and different problems, and we have dedicated people to then reach out to them. But that's really it's us at the very early stages of doing this sort of work. So I can't really probably comment or give you a better insight, unfortunately. Work to be done.
Yeah, work to be done. So what do you, what do you know what your sales stack looks like? What other technology you guys are using outside of obviously your own?
Yeah, it's been difficult because as you can imagine, our business model being much more sort of velocity, um, high velocity, and not as high value deals. It's something which Pipedrive has not been even built for. So we're building a
Yeah.
product which doesn't immediately help us, but it helps people who have a lot more value to offer in a format of a product or service. But what we do is obviously use Pipedrive as much as we can to help us there, and luckily it still helps us, even though it's not maybe the sweetest spot. This sort of high volume transactional sales, and then on top of that, there are different tools that we have set up internally to help us learn more about how the customers are using the product. We do have obviously a lot of interaction with our customer support people who are using Zendesk and their tools there. So that's at least a few things.
Okay, great. Cool. I think we have a few more questions. Somebody wanted to understand a few books. So if you have any names of the books that you recommend.
Yeah, and I run the risk of saying names that might not be as impactful for you, but I'll definitely share the ones that have impacted me a lot.
Yeah, we want to know. Yeah.
Definitely. So I start with not in the order of importance, just as they come to me. So Brian Tracy has a unique way of writing. And he's put together so many books over the years. I remember a book which was called Advanced Selling Strategies, but he has more titles. And the reason I always thought that this is good is that the way he writes, maybe there's not as much structure in his writing, but the content on both rational and emotional levels, so that it talks to me and it rings a bell, is always there. So I felt like whenever I was in a slump or a difficult place, opening his books up from any random place and then just reading 2 or 3 pages was just enough, to get me going and realize that, oh, sure. I mean, like, why am I even, just doing this, sulking here? I mean, I should be doing that instead, whatever that I was reading about. So quick motivational help like that, I think everybody feels these moments, and that's how he was very useful. But he also has very good help to how to set things up for yourself when you want to advance in a career. Then there's a book which I quite liked, which was more spiritual, actually, which was written by Og Mandino. That's called The Best Salesman or Greatest Salesman in the World.
Yeah.
And even though the whole book didn't fully speak to me personally, I've seen that it has done a much better job for somebody else. But I noticed that there are sections in that book which I really like to sort of help my internal dialogue or my sort of talk that I had going in my own head. And then he had a very good way of reminding why you're in this, what it is that you want to do, what's the sort of angle you should have. So it's very, very good way of putting it into words as a good reminder. And then there's a very, very small one, which I don't think you can even sort of easily buy, but you can definitely search for this, which was called The Common Denominator of Success, and that's by Albert Gray, who basically, this is just a transcript of a speech from very early last century, very early last century. I can't remember when, 1907 or 8. I may be wrong. And he was speaking to a group of insurance salespeople, but his advice or the way he was speaking about sales, I've seen that it applies every everywhere really well. So he was talking about habits a lot and how we fail to form the habits that the successful salespeople have, and what you can do about it. And I really like that book. So that's really shouldn't be even called like a book. It's a booklet. It's probably like 10 to 15 pages. But I consumed a lot of it during my sales years because it just hit so many buttons that needed to be hit and or hit where you know went through the days and weeks and everything that was going on. And then again, I mentioned people like Jeffrey Gitomer. You have Zig Ziglar very early on, maybe more aggressive type of sales that he was talking more about there. But still, you have the basics, and then you have spin selling, which is a little bit more scientifically proven method of how sales should be done. Spin selling, I would definitely you know, suggest or say that's a good thing when you are a business where you need to be really good at defining the needs and working with many different participants in a sale as well. Well, they did a very good job of helping you how to interview people. So a number of them.
Yeah. And today, if you're in the SMB space, most importantly, Mark Roberge's sales acceleration formula, he built HubSpot from 0 to 100 million. And then, you know, 48 Laws of Power, I thought was a really interesting book. A lot of kind of hidden gems in there for anyone in sales. Really, really long book, though. And then The Greatest Salesman in the World, you know, is a good call. I used to carry that book around with me. It's like you could probably read the whole thing in a half hour, but I used to keep that book in my backpack. And it's one of those things that'll keep you motivated, keep you empathetic, and make sure you know you're moving in the right direction. And I'm a big fan of that one, except for the religious undertones. But if you can get over that part, you know, it's a really good book. So, Timo, thanks so much. Do you have something you want to share at the end of this deck here?
No, I think it sort of wraps it up, and then you did a very good addition to all the books and good materials. And again, as you were sharing, there are more. But I just wanted to say that, you know, I think sales is often sort of misunderstood as far as, you know, what it is and what it, you know, what is needed to be successful in it. So I urge whoever is listening and whoever is, you know, trying to figure out whether this is for me, just not to listen to too many people, but just believe that, you know, it's actually designed to happen between human beings, and if you're born, that means that you can be really good in sales. I'm not saying that you have all the, you know, the talent immediately there, but it's not something that you couldn't learn, or it's not something that you couldn't be good at. It's the type of a job where you just need to work with people and pay attention, but also make sure that you focus your mind at the right things. And we try to cover some of this today, how you can focus more on the work and being professional rather than just you know, falling into the trap of, oh, I need to get that done, or I'm done. I don't think that's the best way to do sales, and not to have a long career in sales.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, Timo. Definitely check out Pipedrive if you're listening today. And they have their activity-based selling ebook that they got out there. And then obviously check out the software. I think a couple people in the chat here said they'd signed up for free trials. The last one
that was something
you carried around.
Sorry, that was something I almost forgot. We have produced a few things on our own, and Sales Pipeline Academy is something that our users have been finding really helpful. So that's an ebook you can get your hands on, and if you feel that you want to try out Pipedrive and how it could help you manage your activities and close more deals, have really good visibility into your daily actions and weekly actions, then yes, there's a clear way for you to go forward.
Cool. The book we mentioned was The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. I see somebody had a question on that. And definitely check out the ebook and Pipedrive here, and our membership program on saleshacker.com. Thanks a ton for joining us. I think we got our next webinar is coming up with Richard Harris and Sabo and a few other people. I remember seeing some names on there, but definitely check it out, our upcoming webinars. And thanks a ton, Timo, for joining us today. That was great.
Thank you, Max, and thank you everybody else for listening, and have a really good day.
Definitely. The recording will be up in the next 48 hours. Thank you. See you soon.